What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Behind the Door. We got a pretty interesting conversation today. My boy Rich is here from Peak Electric. He's going to talk about some things. So one of the things that I think is that we don't talk about enough is intervention, right? Like what happens, like what is like successful for sometimes our youth, some kids that might be getting in trouble, you know what I mean? Like heading down that wrong road and like what has been successful in that, like what it's and what have we sort of learned about that process, right? Because knowing you a little bit, understand it seems like that that's sort of what was happening for you.
Right.
And you've been able to achieve success in your life in a lot of ways. And I think that, when we can highlight like what really works in terms of like, how do we actually help people in places before things actually get to a place where you're spending, a lot of time incarcerated, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, in my particular situation, I think a lot of the interventions that were put in place initially were from, and by, no means am I downplaying the love and respect that public educators show their students, because there's plenty of great ones out there. But from my particular situation, I believe there were certain modes of intervention from teachers. They noticed that I would act out. My behavior wasn't like everyone else's. And they would try to intervene, but not understand why my behavior was the way it was. I remember 6th grade, there was a teacher who told my parents I needed to go on medication. But she didn't know that my mother was an alcoholic at home raising 4 children by herself, not working. We had no food. There were times where we didn't have heat inside, and during the winter. We would all lay in the same bed together and use our body temperature to get warm. So I think my best form of intervention is when I got put on probation when I was 13, 14 years old, all the way up until I was 17. My probation officer understood the why behind the reason of my actions. He understood, oh, well, Rich is doing drugs because his home life is miserable. He has eviction notices. He has an alcoholic mother. He doesn't have a good relationship, no relationship with his father. My father left before I was born, did not want me at all. So I was dealing with abandonment issues. There was no one there to love me and care for me in a way that a 15-year-old child wanted or needed. And I think once I got put in a place, the place being, it was a school called Carroll Academy. I got sent there. Again, when I was 13 or 14, I got expelled from public school. And the teachers there and my probation officer there understood who we were and why we did what we did. And then they could start taking the necessary steps to help us and to give us the proper tools and resources we needed to become successful and to make at least a good decision. And I think that was the huge part, is we need to understand why people do what they do. If we don't, we're never going to solve the problem,
Well, an important thing that you said is that no one, like I was actually, they tried to put me on medication, and I experienced something a little similar. And it was like, for me, that message was like, you're actually fucked up, and
Right.
you know what I mean. You need to be medicated in order to control yourself, and that was a hard barrier to overcome. And that actually takes somebody to believe in you in order to reverse that a little bit, I think.
Right. Yeah, 100%. The whole medication thing was, I'm thankful that I did not get put on the medication in the 6th grade. Later on in life, fast forward to 14, 15, 16, 17, I'm taking medication that's not prescribed to me. I'm now a full-blown pill popper. Xanaxes, Oxycontin, Klonopins. And, when I was 15, I got sent to a rehab/juvenile detention center. But I think, medication seems to be thrown around a lot, especially when it comes to younger children. And there's a million ways to skin a cat, and I don't believe giving pills to individuals who don't even have a fully developed brain yet is the way to
I
go.
mean, I think even in respects to like putting medication and
Mhm.
giving medication to somebody who's experiencing trauma
Mhm.
to like place medication, and it's like actually probably not appropriate,
Mhm. Yeah, it's I would say it's certainly not appropriate, because you're gonna change that medication, and I've seen this before. I saw this in students when I went to school who took medication for ADHD. And I'm not saying that medication for ADHD you shouldn't take. That's not what I'm saying. But what I've noticed is when the students did take the medication, they were different in a sense that they didn't like who they were or who they felt they were. They went from being social, you know, overly social, to being a zombie in class, and they didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
All they knew is they were being forced to take this medication that made them feel a negative type of feeling. So it's tough because there are solutions out there, and with the whole medication and pharmacy structures that we function around, it's hard to get away from it. But I think more of a holistic approach is definitely the way to go. That's certainly what worked with me, and I've seen it work better with other individuals. Um, as adults and children, I've seen both sides of the coin, and once you understand the why behind someone's actions, then you can solve it. Giving them, if you're trying to help somebody, you don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. I believe you'll never get to the root cause of what it is. If someone would have just sat me down and said, "How's your home life?" They would have got the answers to all the questions they had. You know, so I think just understanding and talking to people and asking questions and getting to know the person that you're trying to help is, I'm going to pull this number out of thin air, but I'd say 90% of how to better
Real
someone.
relationship, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about like where'd you come from, and like why were you interested in coming and have this conversation with me?
Yeah, so I mean, I come from a small town in Tennessee. There's nothing there. The only time I go back now is to visit my family. My mother now is, I think, 7 or 8 years sober from alcohol, so she's alcohol free, completely sober, and she actually owns a nonprofit now. So I'm super super proud of I'm proud of my mother.
Nice.
But yeah, I come from a small town in Tennessee. I got involved in a lot of drugs because that was pretty much the only thing to do there. Um, Involved in a lot of people I hung out with. They were the same situations as I was in. The home life was not good. There were no opportunities. There was really not a lot of people to care about us. So we just kind of tried to survive every day the best we could. It was until I was 19, 18 or 19, I come to I just had a moment. I don't know if it was you can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it whatever you believe in, but something. I was sitting in a trap house. I was at a house where it was just filthy, garbage everywhere, like dog shit on the floor. There wasn't even really like a floor; it was just the subfloor of the house. And We were doing some pretty hardcore stuff, and I just had a moment where I just thought to myself, what are you doing? What are you doing?" um, this is either going to get you dead or in prison. And both of those options sounded better than where I currently was, but it isn't the two options that I wanted in the long term. So knowing that, I was like, okay, well, sure, I can continue going down the path I'm going, and I'll be in a different environment that's better than where I'm at now. whether it's in prison or dead, or I can stop doing what I'm doing and something different. There's got to be a third option. Like prison and death aren't the only two options. There's millions of people out here that do it every day. What are they doing that I'm not? So I told my mom that I was going to go to a job on a barge company. We lived close to the Mississippi River, up and down, running cargo. And I went to the physical, and I was too weak. I was physically too weak to do the job. And I didn't stop there. I didn't go back to doing drugs. I didn't do any of that. I just said, okay, well, there's got to be something else. There has to be something else. Went to the Marine Corps. Walked into the office, did all the paperwork. I got my first tattoo when I was 14 years old. They denied me because of that tattoo right here on my arm. It's a guy wearing a backwards hat, and it's got guns and money signs on it and stuff. And they said could be considered gang related, and that wasn't allowed in the Marine Corps. So I was like, okay, well, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something other than what I was doing. So I went to the Navy office right next door, and they said they didn't care about my tattoos, and they'll sign me up. So I signed up. The reason why I went the military route was because I didn't have the funds to go to college, and I didn't have the grades to go to college. There was no college that was going to take me. In my senior year of high school, I actually asked the staff of the high school I went to, how do I sign up for college? How do I do that? I'm about to graduate high school. I want to go to college. How do I do it? And she told me flat out, she said, oh, honey, you're not smart enough for that.
Mm.
And that was tough because then I was like, okay, well, what the hell am I smart enough to do?
Mm-hmm.
So, fast forward, I was 17, 18 years old, and fast forward to 19, I come to that moment and decided I was going to just do something different. And luckily, the Navy took me. And in the Navy is when I learned discipline, integrity, honor, courage, commitment to stuff, just being honest. And I had every intention of doing 20 years in the Navy. And once I got in it, I was on a submarine and decided I did not want to live on a submarine for 20 years. So I did my 4 years, got out, and moved in with my girlfriend at the time. She's now my wife. And I was back at square one. Once I got out of the Navy, they didn't set me up for success at all about like a career path or anything. They just threw me out in the world. And I'm sitting with my wife, and we were just girlfriend and boyfriend at the time, living in Gorham. And I just asked her, I was like, well, now what do I do? I was like, I have no clue what to do now. I come from drugs straight into the military. Now what? I don't know. So I went to USM for a year and doing business management and finance. I was a logistics specialist in the Navy. So I learned finance and logistics. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do that in the civilian world. And hated it, didn't like it. So I dropped out. Luckily, I'm a veteran, so my schooling was free, so I wasn't in debt or anything. And then my wife had the idea of trying to trade. So I did plumbing in the morning and electrical at night at SMCC. Got hired as an electrician, instantly loved it. And ended up getting my master license and starting Peak Electric. And now that once I got a taste of that success, I knew that was my new drug of choice now. I'm still an addict, and I'm not going to be an addict until the day I die. That behavior will never change. But instead of being addicted to a Xanax, I'm now addicted to my goals and my accomplishments and my success and my business and my electrical and helping the community. That's my addiction now. So I don't want to go on this crazy tangent, but that's kind of where I come from and the reason why I am where I am.
Yeah. It's amazing. What kind of you coming from a place of poverty and stuff like that, but you had to probably somewhere along the line to make a decision. What was that like for you? Like in the middle of that, how am I gonna get better and not really having the resources, right? It sounds like you didn't know.
Yeah,
You didn't really know where to go. But you were on what were you on probation for?
Yeah, so I sold drugs. at school. I got actually caught twice. So the first time when I was 14, 13, 14, something like that. It was my first semester of my freshman year. So I think I was like 14. Selling drugs in the bathroom. Someone told on me, got in trouble, got expelled for a year. Got put
So
on.
how are you selling drugs though? Like really?
I needed money. I
For
needed
what?
for my drugs that I wanted to buy. You know, anything to not be sober, to just escape where I was at is what I wanted. That was what I was chasing after. You know, I remember where I would be in class.
Was mom not like the parent? If mom they weren't around.
Oh yeah, mom couldn't control nothing.
Right.
Mom controlled nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she controlled nothing. So, and she would try, but I'd give her the middle finger and say, "Fuck you," and you can't tell me what to do. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't even walk a straight line to me, you know. So, and she would yell, you know, verbally abusive, and you know, she was never physically abusive with me, but I saw her, you know, being physically abusive with, you know, my sisters, and uh, you know, I was never home long.
No, but this is kind of where like the criminal justice system like
Yeah.
intersected into
Yep.
your life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So once I got expelled from school, luckily where the area I'm from, so I was in Carroll County in Tennessee, and there's a school there in Carroll County called Carroll Academy. And as far as I know, that's one of the only ones in the country. And it serves 5 other counties, the surrounding counties. And any kid who is the age of 13 to 17 who gets in trouble they get sent to that school. Instead of getting straight sent to state custody, they go to that school. And that school is very strict. No backpacks, no mechanical pencils, no pens, black pants, a white button-up shirt tucked in with a belt. If you don't have a belt, they actually duct tape your shirt to your pants, you know. So it was very structured. So that was my first experience with structure, was in that school, Carroll Academy. And they give you drug tests, you're on probation. You know, I had a misdemeanor because I was selling drugs on school grounds.
What do you think? Like, so, how many of those kids do you think were like your peers in that situation were like successful? Do you think that
All the
outcomes
ones.
was different than other people?
Yeah, so a lot of kids that I hung out with went to that school too. I remember I went to juvie when I was 15.
Yeah,
I walked in juvie day one. I knew a quarter of the people in there.
right.
Uh, so there's not one single person that I can think of
Mhm.
that made it. Not one. Not one.
Yeah.
I know ones that's overdosed, that are dead. I know some that are in prison for murder. And I know some that are still drug addicts. They are still the same that we were when we were 16, 17, 15 years old. They're still the same. Um, and I'm 32 now. And one of the questions I ask myself all the time, and I don't know if I'll ever have the answer, is why me? Why the fuck am I so special? You know,
Yeah.
I deserve nothing. These people deserve it all. you
I
know?
think that's like part of
That's what
part of the
struggle.
process, right?
Yeah.
It's like so people that were like, people want to find. I think a lot of people want to find the ingredients. Like, how do you overcome these moments, right?
Right.
And I think you are. It is like you got to. You know what I mean? It was probably. That's why I asked you the question because I was in youth detention and not a lot. There hasn't been a lot of people that I was there with. I look back and say they had great outcomes later on in life. You know what I mean? And so, like it takes some resiliency, right? Like on your part, like inside of you, like what do you think it was
Yeah.
inside of you that like made you overcome these challenges as a youth, you know?
It was a few things. One, I'd hated, I hated to the point, like where I was when I come to the decision to change, where my life was. I hated it so bad. I didn't care if I died trying to succeed doing something else. I didn't care. And I think that mindset is what separated me from them. Is I was not I signed up for the military on a submarine. I went to the Mediterranean Sea, I went to the Persian Gulf. I could have easily died. I didn't care. I had 0% of me cared if I died or lived. All I knew is I was tired of being where I was.
Right.
And I think risking my life is what helps me tremendously. Like just having that mindset of I can lose it all, but it's better than where I'm at. And I think that is what separated me from them,
Yeah.
you know. And today, I'm 32 now, and I think today it's a lot easier. So now my life is great. I have a good life. You know, I have a nice house, a wife, a dog, a great job, a business, you know, great friends. I'm giving back to the community, helping out. So now I'm just having fun and I have a purpose.
Hmm.
And that's huge too, a purpose. Um, I always knew that I was destined to be something more than where I was. Like I knew that because I would compare myself to other people. I would look at other people and say, well, they're doing it. What are they doing? What are they doing that I'm not? Like, why do they have that? Why do they have those nice shoes? How they get those? They're not doing what I'm doing. I guarantee you that. So like I knew there was a difference between my life and their life, other people's lives. And then I just risked my life to obtain some form of success. I didn't know what my level of success was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know where I was going. I had no plan. I had nothing. I knew nothing. I just did not care. I opened the door to the unknown and walked straight through it and did not care where I ended up. I just knew
want to go back there.
I didn't want to go back there. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew it was better than where I was. I knew behind the door was better. I knew that. And I think that's something that I'm trying to distill in people now is behind that door is something better. You have to know it for a fact. You can't think it. You can't believe it because there's doubt in those words. Facts are true. Facts are real. That's your reality. You have to walk through it. You have to know that if you walk through that door, you will be better than what you are
I
today.
think like a large part of our problem for a lot of guys and men and women that come from the same situations that you have, that a lot of other people have, that have been successful, is that the absolute belief, or you start believing in yourself that you can actually be something different. I can relate to understanding that I'm not going back there no matter what happens. Like
Right.
this was all, you know what I mean? I think that that is a place that we have to get to in order to be successful in a lot of ways. We can't have any doubt about like what direction that we're gonna go in, right? Like
Right.
you just
You
have
have to
to
go.
I'm going
You
no
have to
matter
go.
what.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that is like a big part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And you also mentioned that you had like this probation, because I actually had you know what I mean? You talked about probation. I had a probation officer help me the last time I got out. Was, you know what I mean? I was on probation, and in the past I never trusted a probation officer. I couldn't, like I was like built in, you don't talk to them. I can remember being when we were in the youth detention and coming up and stuff. If you were in talking to the counselor too long, everybody thought you were telling. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Like you could, like that's the mentality that I came from.
Right.
And then you know, I got out and I started struggling a little bit, and I went to him and said, man, I called him up. I said, yeah, I'm gonna come turn myself in. You're gonna bring me back to the county. And he calmed me down.
Yeah.
He, you know, he helped me in a lot of ways like nobody else that really had. So he believed in me as well, and you know what I mean. And that actually has been something that I've been trying to in our programming and stuff, to work with people to try as much as we can to be like on the same team with you, because you never know where that sense of belief is going to come from.
Right.
You never know where you're going to find somebody that's actually going to believe in you unless you're open-minded to that experience, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And having someone just there to do exactly that, you know, just to believe, just to say, you can do this.
Yeah.
Just those words, you can. Like that's life changing, literally life changing. There's, you know, as many things my mother did wrong, she did many things right.
Yeah.
And one thing she did
Well,
right.
one of the things she did the best she could, right? The best she could.
She did the best she could. Yeah, yeah. And one of the best things that she ever did for me was always say, "You can, you can, you can." She never, no matter what I attempted. I was in band. She was
I
like,
do that.
"You can do that." I quit band to go play football. Knowing I was like too small of a kid to go play football, "You can do that. You can do that. You can do," and that stuck with me in my head still to this. I get goosebumps thinking about it. And I don't know. I should probably tell her, but the impact of her saying that literally is one of the biggest components in the success I had.
And I think that's one of the things that we, as we come in contact with people, that we knowing that how much of an impact that had on you, it must be something that you want to put into the world for other people.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. With what we're doing now, teaching the guys that come into the program.
And before we get into that, I want to you do something else that's pretty amazing too, right? You're an athlete.
Yeah, jujitsu.
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
going on with
yeah, yeah.
what?
So, yeah, I practice jujitsu, and I used to work out all the time when I was in the Navy. I lifted weights and stuff, and then when I got out of the Navy, I kind of quit working out. I didn't have a reason to work out anymore. And I would attempt it here and there. I got just bored with it. I didn't really like it, so I just Googled like gyms near me and found Gracie Gym out of Wyndham, and I was like, I'll try it, jujitsu. I've never done it before a day in my life. So I walked in and signed up for a free trial, for a week free trial. After the first class, I signed up. And I was just there to exercise, to just be in shape, because I needed to be in some sort of, I always wanted to be fit, and I didn't like the way I looked at the time. And so I did use jujitsu to exercise and to stay in shape. And I've been doing it 2.5 years later. I'm still doing it. So I'm a two-stripe blue belt, so I'm halfway to my purple, which is halfway to black. But yeah, I've been practicing jujitsu. Go 3 days a week. I'm currently in the organization Jiu-Jitsu World League. I'm ranked number 1 in New England for most submissions in the year 2025. Last year I was tied. Yeah. I tell everybody that.
Yeah, that really is a good thing.
Last year I was tied number 1. This year my goal is to be number 1. I actually have a tournament this weekend coming up. So one of the guys, there's 8 of us in the division, so I gotta probably have like 3 or 4 fights. And one of the guys in that division that signed up beat me at the last tournament by submission, so I might have to fight him again. So I gotta figure out the mentality of that. Yeah. So see if I can get some
How
little.
much is that? How much like does this type of thing have to do and like who you are, like in your health?
Oh man, I would say
Man.
jujitsu is like the most humbling thing I've ever done in my life. It teaches you how to perform under pressure. There's times in the gym or even at tournaments when I'm fighting someone, and in the gym they might be, almost 100 pounds bigger than me, and I'm 165 pounds soaking wet, and I might be fighting a guy in the gym that's 260 pounds. So having a 260-pound man just flat on you on the ground, it's tough. It's a tough challenge. But with the right skills, the right technique, the right steps, I can get out of danger and I can get into a better position. Just like in life, life can feel like a 5,000-pound cement block sitting on top of you, and you have no clue how to get out. But with the proper tools and steps, you can maneuver yourself through it and get into a better position. So I think jujitsu and life in general are hand to hand. And if anyone is questioning if they should do jujitsu or not,
Yeah,
you should.
yeah, but yeah, I think it's like one of the things that stands out to me is that like having something like that is like sometimes it's like in recovery, it's this and that. It's like people use 12-step community, they use different things. I think like having different avenues of or outlets and
Yeah.
things to get into, and like You know what I mean? The discipline. That's what you've talked to me about today is like discipline from every level, from
Yep.
every angle. Like,
Yep.
what's the next move? And like knowing that like the next step is going to move me farther away from where I need to. I've talked about the same kind of a concept on the podcast. It's like I've been going because, you know what I mean? I don't want to go back there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go back to the Supermax. I don't want to go back and do all these things. I don't want to, you know what I mean? It's like if we can talk to somebody and have like, okay, I heard from these guys what they actually do. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to get disciplined. I gotta find, a will to win no matter what happens in my life. I actually can overcome poverty. I can overcome anything that I put my mind to. And that mindset sometimes, you go back to like, the medication and stuff like that, like the message that people have received that you can't, you know what I'm saying? That like you're damaged, that you need to be like all these different messages that people receive over time. Um, that's why I think it's rare when people can actually say, I actually am going to overcome this. As a matter of fact, down a residential program, I just gave these guys an assignment to write their stories from the perspective of a superhero. You know what I'm saying? Like how we overcome things, and that like there's no movie. Like we asked what people's favorite movies are. You know, what I mean, a couple guys, Rocky, this, that. It's like the best thing about Rocky is he got beat to shit, and then he came back and knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing about. That's why Rocky was so important, right? Is because we don't actually. It's the story of not finding a way no matter what happens, and I think that that's kind of the mentality that you're talking about, that we sort of need to never get beaten.
Yeah, and it's important to know too that, there's some battles you're gonna win, and there's some battles you're gonna lose, just as Rocky
Take it
did.
on a chart.
You just gotta keep going.
You
You gotta
keep
keep
going.
going,
You got to take it on the chin, man.
Yeah, and discipline comes in. So a lot of people I talk to, they say like, "Oh, well, I was focused in it, but then I got distracted, or I was motivated." And well, not every day I'm motivated. I'm really not. There's some days I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to be an electrician today. I don't want to drive all the way to this customer's house and troubleshoot this. I don't want to do this, but I'm disciplined enough to do it.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Without motivation,
Yeah.
if you have discipline, you don't need anything else. All you need is discipline. You just need to do it. And one of the professors at the gym, so the instructor is Professor Mike. I called him one day and I was like, "Hey man, when you are running businesses or dealing with A, B, and C, and you don't want to do it, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. Like I'm stuck." And he said it's a mindset, and the mindset is, this is what I do. When you're doing something, when you're dealing with a client who's unhappy about something, or you got to wake up extra early because you got to make it to the job site on time. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is me. Like this is what I do. So like that's the mindset. And ever since I heard that, I've applied it. And shout out to Professor Mike for telling me that, because it's worked in more ways than I think he imagined.
The professor. Like,
Yeah. So, but yeah, discipline's huge, and without the discipline, you can have everything else, and you'll never obtain what you want without
I
it.
used to have this saying on this whiteboard in my office early on that said, hard work and preparation equal good luck. It's like the opportunity has to be there, but we also have to be prepared to take the opportunity. So it's like sometimes we get discipline, like you said, and you don't know where that discipline is going to take you, but you just have to get there. You know what I mean? And when we can get to that place, it's like we can really, you stay humble enough to just take the steps that are in front of you and stay disciplined and understand that we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we were either. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We're work in progress all the time.
We're never gonna be where we want to be 100.
Exactly.
We're always gonna have something to work toward.
Yeah, I think it's important. Now I like to talk about so one of the reasons Rich and I linked up and the common interest is Rich obviously owns Peak Electric. He's a master electrician. We started working on a project. So currently right now we have 7 guys Rich has been working with to train them how to be electricians. And these guys are all guys that may be coming out of the system. They're in, a transitional residential treatment program. Some will live in our recovery houses. Um, and for me, we get started in a program like this. One of the sayings that I really kind of hold on to is like, no one's coming to save us, right? And I've been working in the field and like being vocation and having direction and purpose has always been something that I've been very, very passionate about. It's like we all deserve a chance. You know what I mean? We all deserve a chance to get better. We all deserve a chance to get a good paying job. We deserve a chance to make decent money and have a living and like have the house and the white picket fence that like everybody told us we couldn't have, right? And I've worked with a lot of agencies and a lot of things over time, and one of our barriers has been like a lot of our guys do not the trust issue, right? Like there's a trust issue. You bring in outside organizations and they help and they can support us and they can support the guys and stuff like that. But one of the things that I think have been missing for a long time is like hands-on, like this is how you do stuff. Like I know being a man and even a woman, like we want to feel productive. You know what I'm saying? And when we can feel productive, well, we are in a therapeutic process. That has been super important to me in the development of what our comms goals are, what my personal goals are, and so it's really the reason why we started our relationship because we started another part. I also work with BA Builds and Benny Air. He comes in and he teaches them how to do construction. We made these big dog houses. We're doing be able to roof them inside them and some guys are learning some skills so that he's gonna employ a couple of them. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully the goal, you know what I mean, like as we work is that we actually get these guys employed for the skills that they offer, not sort of on a second chance because I'm in recovery or because I'm a felon, I need some chance. And really, when I've looked at it, it's like that means less pay when we get lumped into that. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, it's been a goal and sort of a vision to be able to have guys and men and women get some skills that they can get paid for, that the merit is based on the skill that they put forth. You know what I mean? And not based on whether I'm in recovery or not, or whether I'm a felon or not, or anything like that. So that's kind of the basis of how where we're at right now. But tell me a little bit about it from your end.
Yeah.
What's
Oh man. So this is like the third week, maybe second, third week. And first off, I want to say that these group of gentlemen that I've been teaching are extremely intelligent. I'm not holding back. I got the whiteboard up. I'm writing everything down. I'm teaching them parallel series circuits, how to wire electrical panels, the meters outside your house, what the wire is, all that stuff. And I'm quizzing them on it every day. At the end of class, we do a whole review. I just ask them questions and they fire the answers. And man, they are paying attention. They are very, very good. And there's no doubt that that they certainly will go out and be good electricians. That's for sure. And we're kind of doing two birds, one stone here. Not only are we helping individuals in recovery stay in recovery, but we're also potentially solving a tradesman shortage that we're experiencing heavily here in the state of Maine.
I think that's like just the most beautiful thing is that like when we can bring real skills in and like guys can start getting like some on the job hands-on training with somebody that actually understands what it's like to be like in an institution or congregate living setting and like really actually facing some odds in their life and like really trying to overcome that. And then when you can like be taught by somebody that understands that process that they're going through, I think it makes it like it can be successful.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I never envisioned myself teaching. So when the opportunity was presented, uh, I took it. Like you said earlier, you just gotta when the opportunity presents itself, you have to take it.
Have to.
So it's what I did, and you know, I think in my own head that I'm struggling with teaching, and then I have one of my team members, Avery. He also works for Peak Electric, and he also comes to the classes and helps teach too. He tells me all the time. He's like, "Oh, you're really good at this." After today's class, he told me, he goes, "Oh, you're really, really good at this." And I was like, "Oh, I feel like I suck at it." Like I feel like I'm not doing good as well. And then the guys are retaining the information
Yeah.
and they're learning and they're picking it up, and it's like, okay, maybe I am okay at this. Like maybe I can teach this. So, but yeah, it's going great, and I'm super excited. I'm ready to see them out in the field with the tools on, and
Yeah.
I think it's a great program. And as far as I know, I think it's one of the only like of its kind. I'm not too familiar with the whole.
And that's what I'm saying is that like there isn't a lot, and it's because we've started to create it out of necessity. You know what I mean? Like we got guys that like want to work, they don't know how to. You know what I mean? Like and because the skills, they don't have the skills in hand.
Mhm.
It's harder to find good paying jobs. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
it's one of these. It's an interesting market too because we are is it such a hurting for workers, but there's also a mentality that you can't hire everybody. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? It's like
right.
so there's
Mhm.
and then these you get spotty work history, and because of you're recovering from
Right.
medical illness, and
Mhm.
gets looked at differently. You know what I'm saying? Is like if I missed work, spotty work history because of diabetes or
Mhm.
anything like that, that's like explainable. But because we start using substances or something
Right,
like that
right.
happens, we get looked at differently, which is this part of the stigma.
Yeah, we're gonna squash that stigma
Which is
for sure.
that's exactly what we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we gotta get guys. So
Yeah.
like I said, and we're also we're gonna be working with a guy that's gonna come teach people how to weld, and
Mhm.
that can get guys in onto the shipyard.
Mhm.
So they'll be might be able to weld, know how to weld before they get in onto the
Right.
job,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that could sometimes be the difference between getting to work and not knowing what you're talking about, having the tools, having the
Mhm.
equipment, having everything set up so that I can be successful. And really, more importantly than all of that, it's like having the belief that I can.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
we need to equip them with the most. Is
Yeah.
like I can actually do this
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's like you didn't see yourself being a teacher or a master
Mhm.
electrician
Right.
or the number one submission artist in New England, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or like this next thing, right? Like or the Navy guy. You know what I mean? Like the things that you believe
Mhm.
we're not gonna we don't see it
Yeah.
before it happens, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so like the opportunity, and we have a bunch of guys that are just like willing to do it and like
Yeah.
willing to learn, are just hungry for
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, one of them had emailed me over the weekend and asking, "Hey, Rich, is there any, I really appreciate you coming to teach and I'm really liking it. Is there any videos or any material I can look at outside of class to help me kind of, put me ahead a little bit or let me learn more outside of class or whatever?" And I thought that was awesome. The fact that he even reached out, and it shows the interest and it shows the motivation that they have. And, I'm
these guys are hungry, man. Just
yeah.
like this afternoon, even they go up. We bring them up to the gym, and I go up to the gym. I got to work out with them earlier, and it was like these guys are hammering. There's like 12 guys in the gym, like just going hard in the gym, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
see them,
Yeah.
like, and then it's a discrepancy sometimes in how
Mhm.
society looks at us, and like how what the actual motivation is once
Right.
you get an opportunity, once you get a
Mhm.
chance, once I get things in my life and like support and around holding on to them.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what this type of a program is going to be able to provide to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I believe too that it's gonna be the blueprint to how a treatment is going to be viewed as on how to solve.
Yeah.
I visualize and dream big. Oh, I'm a big, big dreamer,
Yeah, that's what we gotta do,
big
man. We
dreamer.
gotta think about the big pic.
So I think this will put its roots in the ground and just grow.
I do too.
You
I
know,
really
so
do too, and I think it's guys like you that are willing to make the sacrifice
yeah,
right? Because it's a sacrifice
Yeah.
up front, and then
Yeah.
you go, okay, what do I see? What can I
Mhm.
believe in? What can I actually do? And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all we gotta do is just be there and show up and like share what we know with each other, and like you can build a massive community behind the
Right.
type of thinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Community that we never believed that we could have.
That we could have. Yeah. Exactly. And I think like I always wanted to give back. Like I always wanted to help the village that helped raise me. I just never knew how I was going to do that. And when you and Mike presented me with this opportunity, I was like, okay, well, this is a way that I'm going to do that. And we also work with Peak Electric works with Youth Build out of Portland, and we also allow juveniles to job shadow us as like an internship
Mm-hmm.
that are going through the system as well. So we do that too. We want to we help the adults, and then we talk about helping the
It's
young
really
people
about
too.
opportunity. So the opportunity, too, man. We just got like sometimes
Yeah.
it's all we need is opportunity and like somebody to go, I think you can actually do this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then like those two things come together and you have a little bit of belief in yourself or a little bit of hope for yourself, like you can apply yourself to anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, and it just comes with that whole mindset of I can do this. Like I can do it. And you just sometimes you may not see that you can do it, but when you have someone pushing you in that direction, you start to see it a little bit better.
100% we start seeing it better.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Just a little belief. So man, it was great talking to you tonight,
Yeah.
man. It was dope. I
Thanks for
think
having me.
program's in a roll. I think you should be really, really proud of yourself. And
Thanks.
if you're anything like me, you don't actually look at yourself and go, man, I've done a good job. But I hope you realize like how inspirational your story is, and like how like much hope I hope it's gonna give.
Yeah, I view myself. I'm just a normal guy trying to make it
Word,
and trying to take care of the people I can help.
word.
That's it.
Got you.
You know.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.